Hello, and welcome to another episode of Scavenger Life. This is episode number 202 at scavengerlife.com. And here we are, drinking our coffee.
Yep, on a Sunday morning, and we welcome all the little trash shelves out there. We hope you are photographing or listening or packing. You know, this is going to be the next hour and a half or two that we'll spend it with you, hopefully, to get you through. It's maybe one of those big bad piles that you've been putting
Piles
off.
of procrastination.
There you go.
P.O.P.
And if you've chosen selling on eBay as your profession, then you found the right people.
We hope.
If you're brand new to eBay, I think hopefully this will still be interesting as well. But there are definitely other podcasts that would probably point you more towards exactly what to buy and a lot of the how-tos that are very basic. We're more focused, I think, on more of the bigger picture for people that have kind of figured the basics out and then how to keep going with your business.
Sustain yourself.
Sustaining it yourself week in and week out, you
Yes.
know, as an independent business
As
person.
we are trying to do as well.
So every week I try and think of kind of a big topic, like a big idea that we've been thinking about.
What's your big idea?
This week there is no big idea.
Oh, okay.
It's more about something that I think is going to really change our business, and it's one of those things it just kind of happens, and it kind of connects to what we've been talking about recently about being successful at selling online, especially on eBay, is about changing. So
Yes.
This is something we've changed.
Right.
And that is, we no longer are listing with a template.
Right.
And I think for most sellers, they don't list with a template.
Right.
I find templates are kind of like old school.
Because we're pretty old school in that respect, because we started in 2008.
Yeah, I guess, okay, so just to kind of back up here. So we started in 2008, and when we started, I don't remember there being any podcasts or YouTube videos. We were just kind of making it up on our own.
Yeah.
And the way we would do it is we would do searches on eBay for things that finding other people who were selling things we wanted to sell and saw how they did it.
Right.
And we saw a lot of the people we admired have templates.
And these are like almost high-end fashion people.
Right.
So we were kind of imitating them. Like, what can we do to make our listings look, comparable to theirs?
And what this means is if you're selling an item and you have the pictures above and the
Right.
info, and then down below in the description area, we wrote an HTML template
Right.
that would kind of make it look like a web page.
Yeah.
It had like a header, a sidebar. We could put links on one side to other parts of our store.
Right.
The idea is that you would present it where it would look like an independent website.
Like a professional.
Yeah.
Like, basically.
And hopefully someone would actually enter into our store through that page.
Right.
It was kind of a pain in the ass, but we've been doing it since 2008.
Yeah.
Where when we list or,
Yeah.
there's all this info that you have to input in a certain way to make it look good.
Right. And part of the reason for doing that, too, is, and I've said this a million times before, eBay only let you host one photo for free.
Right.
So at minimum, we had like 4 or 5 photos.
Right.
Max, on big artworks, 20 photos. So you had to host that stuff on its own, on your own server. So that's just been part of my process.
And I guess
never stopped that.
a couple of years ago, I guess, eBay then allowed you to host
12
up to 12
photos for free.
For free.
So for me, I'm like, I think it's been about 2 years since
Right.
then, 2 or 3 years.
And, people in the comments of the blog have said, who needs a template?
You don't need it anymore.
And it's true, as more people are buying on mobile
mobile's
phones
changed it.
and on iPads
Right.
or tablets, it's up to 30 to 40% sometimes. They don't really need that template because sometimes it doesn't format.
Right. And that has
correctly
been a
anyway.
problem for us, too.
But it's just one of those things. We were hard-headed until we weren't.
Right.
And it was this past 2 weeks where we did this experiment opening up a second store that we were like, it's going to be our down and dirty, experimental. And very quickly we were like, no more template.
No more template. Like, I need to list as fast as possible,
Right. Like, I've seen you list it's this week as many as it's 50 items in a day.
I mean, I can list almost 50 to 70 items. Now, it helps not to have to do research, because if it's the stuff that I know the back of my hand, then I'm just like, whatever.
Right.
Good to go. I know what price I want. On other things, I might have to do a little more research, but it's still so much faster.
Right.
The whole process is so much faster.
So, and again, this is probably how most people are doing it, or some people are doing it.
Yeah.
Here's how we're doing it. I take photos.
Right.
And in Google Docs, I will write a title.
Yes.
Basically a complete title.
A complete title, yeah.
As much as I can. And then I'll write it's details of the item.
The measurements.
It's measurements, and if there's anything wrong.
Right.
It's with
any like pertinent information that a customer would need and that I would need to.
I'll put in bullet points.
Right,
and then that's in a Google Doc, just in the cloud, and then you're able to access that
on my computer
when you're ready to list that stuff.
Yeah.
And then you just copy and paste a lot of that.
Yeah,
right?
I just copy and paste it. So what I do is also, because people ask us about our process all the time too, I take the SD card. When you're done with photos in the afternoon, you just give me the camera. I grab the SD card, throw it in my computer, and I'm on a Mac, so I use iPhoto. And I edit every photo. Now, people think that sounds very laborious, but it's not. A lot of photos are fine the way they are. Some of them need a little cropping because our, lens doesn't quite focus at, super close. So.
Well, I mean, I'll say it's when I'm taking photos. Those of you that have taken thousands of photos, it's like I have, you get to the point where I'm assuming you don't have to crop, hopefully, a lot of photos because I'm cropping in camera.
Yes.
And I don't delete any photos that are wrong.
Right.
I just take it over
just
again.
Keep going.
Again, if assuming that you'll do it. And then on certain items, there's always a sequence of...
Like shoes.
Of photos. So on shoes, I've got a sequence. Front, side, back, bottom,
size,
yeah. And so it's always the same. So hopefully you aren't having to move them around.
Right? No, not at all. Like you're taking photos in the order that they'll get uploaded to eBay. Right. The first photo is what we call the gallery or the thumbnail that's going to show up on search. So there's no reordering of photos. Sometimes there are. Sometimes I'm like, I like this angle better for the thumbnail. It takes 2 seconds to reorder it, The other thing, too, is just a side note. When I was uploading photos to eBay a couple of years ago, even when they started the 12 photos, they had the worst uploader. It took forever. Sometimes you had to choose photos one by one. So for 12 photos, photo 1, photo 2, photo... So they've improved that. So there are lots of improvements that are happening that help. So
and now I hear the same people that are telling us don't do a template. They're telling us, well, why even do that? Why not just take pictures on
your iPhone,
the iPad or the iPhone, and I start a listing, and then you just carry it on from there.
Yeah,
and you just kind of
like I could be sitting at my desk, like posting it as you're going.
I don't know. I guess in our defense, I guess we like the kind of camera we use.
I like our camera a lot.
Although some people say, and it's true, that the iPhones and more advanced kind of
the newer Samsungs,
yeah,
and stuff like that.
The cameras are good,
incredible,
are great.
Yeah, they're amazing.
And so I don't know exactly what the reason is. I think for us, it's just got to be baby steps.
Yeah, I think that's true for anyone.
Right.
When you're making a change to make it more efficient, like with Google Docs, it took us forever to do that. Yeah. I was just like, what do you mean we're going to have a computer next to us when we take photos? Like, I couldn't put that together.
So, I hope it's interesting for people to hear this as much as I'm always railing on people on the blog about changing its process, becoming more efficient. We're as susceptible to kind of hard-headedness as anybody else. But I gotta say, we do embrace change when it makes sense. And it's almost like we have to think about it, we have to go for it, we try it. And then as long as it feels like it's good, then it's like, okay, let's do it.
I think it's good to try things because I'm sure there are times, I can't think of anything right now, where you try something and you're like, nah, that doesn't really work for me, and then you go back to the way you did it. Or like with the no template listing, it was like insane. I was like, this is so I can list something in like 1 minute.
Right.
Like it's no time.
Now, that being said, though, I'm still a little bit, I'm being very aware of the things we list now with no template. I mean, basically, it's like it's got all these photos up there, and then in the description part, it might have 20 words in it.
I mean, sometimes there's nothing.
Right.
You're just like...
we have sold some of those. It's still too early to really tell, but I'm going to keep an eye on to make sure the items that are listed with no template and, all the info we normally would put in, we'll make sure that those sell.
Right, and that they're not getting returned for some odd reason. There's not enough information. But the good thing is, that same information, you've always been giving me that information.
It's not that we were putting more info in the template. It's just that it looked more professional, I guess. And now it's pretty down and dirty.
I like that it can be seen on mobile with no issues.
And it's really, we mentioned this last week. There is a seller that we have been watching for about a year now, 12 months, who puts up really awesome stuff. He's got a really good eye, but he lists in the most casual way imaginable. Really beautiful photos, but this down and dirty way where he would just say, "This is an awesome piece. See ya."
Like that's it.
But he would regularly sell things for $100+ because he just had a good eye for quality items, and he knew the right keywords, and he doesn't have bad feedback.
Nope.
So that was another way where we've been thinking about this, but I needed to see someone actually
see an example,
and follow along to make sure he was consistently selling those items and getting good feedback. Right.
So that we knew, okay, if we use that method and we put all the information we feel a customer would need, measurements, whatever.
I've seen this guy sell items for $6,000, like, a very, and some antique piece for $6,000, doing it this way, where it's just a title, a bunch of photos, 12 photos, and then literally 10 words. Yeah. This is awesome, found in an estate sale. Right. So clean and perfect.
Right. And you're like, okay, that person, whoever bought it was satisfied with that description.
Right. I mean, I guess ultimately buyers are getting to the point where they trust the process enough. Right. Where they don't need long contracts and they don't need those contracts. They don't need those templates. I mean, Yeah. We were never one of those people that had a template that had all the rules.
The rules and regulations.
Like 52 rules that people had to follow in 18 different fonts.
No scammers.
I guess in a way, as much as we made fun of Etsy, in a way we were trying to look like
that.
Etsy in a way where you wanted to look like a professional store.
Right. And I think you can do that still with the quality of your photos and your titles.
Sure. Right.
But, and the quality of your items, I mean, that to me is like, go on eBay any day, search for something that sells for like $1, and you're like, oh, that's why it sold for $1, because it's a horrible photo,
So, and I just want to say that I understand too the people who seem to argue against change, because I'll tell people, well, you need to change this to be more efficient. I mean, I know there is a feeling of like, we're admitting we did something wrong. But it's not like we were doing anything wrong. It's just that we had a certain way to do it.
I think we're admitting to going slow in the new process. I don't think it was the wrong thing to do. I just think it was, we didn't realize that you could still sell that other way.
I think my point is I understand when people, or if people have a feeling of being resistant to change because they're admitting they made an error. And no one likes to admit they made an error. But it's not that there was an error involved. It's just there is now a better way.
Right. A faster way to do it.
For
sure. It's really changed. Like, I would say that I actually enjoy listing. Like, you went out the other night to go into town, and you were checking your phone, and you were like, because we both get the emails of when stuff is being listed. You're like, Ryan is still listing. It's like 7 o'clock at night. And I'm just like, I'm just going to throw this stuff up because I don't have anything else to do. Awesome. It's like, what? When have I ever been like that? Like, I'll just do this for fun,
So this is something, so now we're thinking about, so what if I did a list through the iPad? And this is my thinking. Again, I like to use the camera we have. Or I like to use a lens that really...
Yeah, it's beautiful.
A good lens, and it gets up close, all that stuff. Yeah. I wonder if you can buy like a wireless
Yes, you can.
lens that would just... So basically the iPad is more just like a computer
wireless lens.
sits there.
I see what you're saying.
And I wonder if... I think I've seen those, like, I think Sony might have
It's like
one.
a Bluetooth lens or something?
Yeah, or it's like a Bluetooth camera with like a really big lens on it.
Right.
And the camera itself is just tiny because it's just like a little thing.
A little sensor.
And then you could just be taking photos, kind of the way I already do.
Yeah.
But the iPad is more just absorbing that info.
That's like,
and then uploading.
That's interesting.
I mean, I know that there's some guy, he was a big advocate for... There's like a wireless
SD card
that you can put into our existing camera.
It's kind of cool.
And then that would supposedly upload.
Yeah. I'm like, where would it go? I guess you'd hook it up to like your...
Like iPhoto or something.
Yeah.
iCloud.
I don't know. Yeah, and then that would go into my iPhoto or something like that. I don't know. Like, to me, that setup is like, just hand me the SD card. Like, it's easy enough.
I think the other thing I worry about, so I'm thinking about the iPad. So let's say I were to use the iPad and I'm taking photos on the iPad.
Yeah.
And I'm making a draft of a listing.
I think there's a limit to how many drafts.
That's my concern because I normally take, 20 to 40 items at a time.
Right, it's a lot of
So it would be 20 to 40 individual items that would be ready for you to list. And we aren't always in sync.
Right.
You don't always list the stuff I'm taking pictures of.
Right.
So how many of those could I have up before it...
We had a commenter, too, say that she, like, started doing all these drafts, and then she came back and she's like, the last 12 were there, and none of them, so...
Yeah. So I guess that's the other
That is the concern, like...
Yeah. But, I think for me, I'm just excited that we learned something new.
Yes.
And maybe it takes us 25% of the way it's forward, and so we'll get this process down, and then maybe we'll try something else.
The iPad process
One of
or
these other
something.
things. I just really need someone to, if they feel like it, or if they have a better way to really explain it well.
Right.
And really help us think through its process.
Right.
Of how it works for them. Because again, I don't want to hear from people who are thinking about how it could work.
Right.
I'd like to hear from people who are doing it, and maybe I can even see it's their store, and so I could actually
Just see how
it
they
looks
do
and
it.
all that stuff.
Yeah. So basically what we're saying is you will photograph and list, and I don't have to do anything.
I mean, I'm sure there are other people that are saying that too. Why are we even splitting up the work? Like, why
Right.
not?
Just have one person photograph and list.
I guess it's just been nice the way we've been doing it. Like there are certain parts of the eBay process that I just don't. I know how to do, but I just don't like doing it. Like, I don't like to list.
I've listed stuff from my phone as an experiment. Like, I found this like old cell phone, 10-year-old cell phone, whatever, and I was like, I'm just going to take pictures of it on my desk with my phone and try to list it. The problem I found was I couldn't like change like the shipping information. Like it was like hard to edit like those kinds of details. So I had to save the draft and then go on my computer and do it. So I was like, why don't I just do it on my computer like all at once? So those are things you have to kind of work out. But I will say, I love the no template listing. It's so fast. Like, I remember when Wendy would be like, oh, I just list 50 things in, like, a couple hours. I'm like, what? How?
Yeah.
No template, Right.
Even though, we're not doing it with the template, or other people might not be doing a template, or probably aren't. I mean, it's still always important, though. It can't be so casual that I really hate listings that have spelling errors, grammar errors, formatting errors,
Yeah.
Got to be careful of double a listing, like copying and pasting.
Right, exactly. Stuff like that. You have to pay attention.
All those things. I think that's my only concern about getting so down and dirty that we're just like,
It's too fast.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of why I like to break up also, like, there'll be things where a couple times this week you forgot to take a photo of the size on the shoe, or it was out of focus or something, so the second person is catching those mistakes. So I'm like, okay, I gotta grab this shoe because I really want to make sure it has the size listed, you know?
Because even though I am writing titles and I'm writing the info, I like having, like, not having that part of my brain where I have to be so worried about it
And researching
if I don't do it right, it's going to not go up online well. I like to
Right.
put, I do the best I can, but I really like to, I like to take a big pile and just get through it.
Right, exactly.
And there's a part of my brain where if I had to think about all those final details, it would really slow me down.
It would slow you down, yeah. Like, I feel like breaking up the work is good like that, because I can just take a whole folder and list it and, fix any little things that need to be fixed and whatever, and I feel like it's faster that way, because you're just like photo,
Right.
titles,
Right.
done,
And it's like you said with the research too. Like I do some as research while
Yeah.
I'm taking photos, mainly because I'm just interested.
Yeah.
Like
Like,
this
what is
past
this?
week, we for those of you who didn't hear in the past, we had like 400 pairs of shoes that we've been gathering for the past 6 months.
Yeah.
We just haven't taken any pictures of shoes, so it's been kind of building up in these piles. And I'm finally taking pictures of them, and I'll go through and I'll take pictures of some shoes that I've never seen or a brand. And
Right.
I'm doing the research more to learn about it.
Yeah, like, what is this? Is this a popular brand?
I mean, like, we got a couple pairs of shoes that are worth like $400. These like...
Yeah.
They're
What
like-
are they called? I have to look at the brand, but it's resort wear.
Right.
It's like stuff you would buy if you're like down in like Palm Beach or whatever.
Right.
Like just total preppy.
And that's like a look now, like super casual.
Yeah.
But kind of like a princess,
like just high end.
yeah.
So I've actually found several of those shoes lately, and I'm kind of looking at them like, oh, these are high end shoes. Well, I didn't know they were that high end.
Right.
I mean, they sell new for like $500. What?
Yeah.
They're just like canvas shoes with leather soles.
Yep.
But if you're rich enough, you don't care.
Yeah. but
So
that's
those are
special.
great to find.
Yeah.
Those are great finds.
And then the other thing that I was curious about, I mean, this is not specifically about the template, but
Yeah.
we talked last week about, people are putting things on sales, amazing taste. This will happen where we'll do an interview with a seller that seems to have a strategy that works.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people will
Wanna try
latch
it.
onto it and try it.
Yeah.
And we did it too. We, try to put our store on sale.
Yeah.
We've done it in the past. It doesn't really work well. And, our thing is like, people are buying, but they aren't buying any more than they normally do. And would they have bought it because even if it wasn't on sale?
Right.
So for us, I don't see a number. Some people say, well, it only works for like clothes, which
Right.
we don't mainly sell clothes anymore.
Yeah.
So clothes, people like things on sale. I guess my question though is the sale itself more important than the price?
Right.
Like, aren't people just searching by
By
the price
and
as
quality.
lowest to highest?
Yeah.
So if you have it priced at $30, the sale itself, like, is that the driver, or is it just that it's $30?
Or are people searching for stuff that's on sale?
Right.
Because there is a little checkbox, search for stuff that's on sale.
That's true.
That, that's like those people, I mean, this isn't the same thing, but that's like those people who put make offer on stuff but don't really take offers because they want the search results for people looking for make offer.
That's true.
So,
Right.
I don't know.
Right. So they...
Which doesn't make any sense because then you make an offer and they don't take it. But
Right.
I just wonder if it's a similar, like, search result type thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
But
agree.
I think that is one of those experiments that we've tried that hasn't worked. Like,
Right.
we've tried multiple times in our store at different periods where we've tried putting our store on sale, and it just doesn't work, or we don't see the numbers.
I don't see, like, oh, we got 25% more sales
Justify,
this week.
yeah.
It was like...
If anything, what happens is people give us an offer on the sale price.
Yeah,
so it's
it's
almost like
lower.
we're like totally discounted.
Yeah,
so.
yeah.
Yeah, so anyway, that's kind of what we wanted to talk about this week. I'm sure there are people out there going like, I told you so, and that's cool. People were telling us don't list with a template.
With a template, yeah.
But, again, we had to do it till we decided it didn't
I was
make
very
sense.
attached to the template. I'm like, how
I
could
was
I
too.
list without this?
I was too. I felt like it was almost like our identity.
Yeah.
When you would go to one of our listings, it would look a certain way.
Yeah.
And it had like, and plus, and you would put a lot of work into it's making a really cool header.
Yeah.
And it felt like
Yeah.
a store.
It felt branded.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's
It
just
doesn't
not
matter.
necessary.
I mean,
yeah.
The other thing was we, in the early days we were hoping, okay, we'll sell multiple things to one person. Like people will come and buy a lot of stuff because they're buying in your store. And we found every so often someone would do that. They'd come and buy like 5 or 6 things. But that was, I mean, maybe
rare.
Once every 3 months.
Yeah,
I mean,
very rare.
So the upsides to doing the template it's never went through.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
I think we're good now. I think it's good.
Okay, so let's do the numbers.
Yes.
We do this every week just to kind of, not to brag, but to share, how the numbers it look like for full-time people that sell full-time.
Yeah. With 2 stores now.
Yeah, and trust me, there are some people on the blog that have many less items than we do, and they make sometimes twice as much as we do. So again...
So it's good. I love to see people's numbers.
Yeah, it's good, and I hope as new people will look at different people's numbers and try to figure out why some people are making more or less, and the difference between how much they pay per item versus how much time they put in versus...
I think that's a very interesting metric.
Versus how much time they spend scavenging.
Right.
I mean, there's like... I always talk about it. There's the equation. It's like time and money put in, time put in versus how much its money comes out.
Yep.
Each of those things can change and you'll get a different number. And each of us have different circumstances in our life that it require us to have certain of those numbers have to be fixed. Like some people can only spend 10 hours a week trying to find items, scavenging. And to me, that's not enough. But for some people, that's what they have to deal with. And so that will affect their equation.
Yeah.
All right. So, like Ryan said, we have 2 stores now. And we'll talk about that a bit more. But in our original store, we sold 30 items.
Yep. Pretty
for about almost $2,000.
Wow.
And
that's good.
For those of you who remember it last week, we sold about 20 items for about
$800
or $900. So we more than doubled our sales. And again, I think for us, the difference is a couple of things. Number one is we had been coming off a 4-week period where we hadn't listed a single item. We had come back from a long trip, so our handling time was
all 10 days
extended. So we had taken that off. And last week was the first week where we had been listing again, and so people believe that maybe that makes more activity in your store. So really, we're back to
the normal.
I mean, we made almost $300 a day, and it's for us. That's when we're psyched.
$300 a day is our goal.
Yeah,
I mean, especially averaging out over the week.
Right.
That's if we make more than that a day, great. But that's the goal.
The highest price was $400 pair of lamps that we'll talk about a bit more. So we had a good big sale.
That was awesome.
A couple of them. So our average price sold was actually about $65.
See, I want that to be our average price sold all the time.
Right. I mean, we always talk about, for us, like $30 items are like the bread and butter. That's what we can go out and find all day long. $30 items. Buy it for $1, sell for $30.
Yep.
But our goal the past couple of years now has been, how do we raise that average price per item?
Right.
So we don't have to work as hard,
but we make either the same amount of money or more.
Right. And that means we have to be better scavengers, really. And that's like learning how to research more.
Yeah.
When we're out there, being willing to spend a little bit more money on certain items, those kind of things.
Exactly.
We got a couple of its returns that we'll talk about.
Yes.
And we enlisted, or you did, 99 items in this store.
Let's just round that up to 100.
100. So
basically, I listed 100 items in this store.
That was
Yay!
good.
Wow.
So if that was all it was, that'd be a good week for us.
Yeah.
However, we have this new experiment where we opened up a second store. And that's because Mark H. had suggested.
Yes.
We had said that we had felt like we had hit kind of a plateau on the store. It didn't seem how many more items we would put in our store. Our sales have kind of been steady.
Right.
Which I'm not complaining.
Yeah.
It's just we would assume that the more items we put in our store, the more money we would make.
Right.
And that wasn't seeming. So he was like, we'll open up a new store and see what happens. So we opened up a second store. We had already had the store, but we actually started to
list on it.
Well,
it wasn't a store. I bought the store subscription.
Right.
It was just an account.
and we'll talk more about that too. But the numbers is so we have 198 items in that store now.
Yes.
So after 2 weeks, we have almost 200 items in our store.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a good example. I mean, and for a new people out there, I hope that you hear that we're almost starting over. So we understand what people are going through about limits and starting from scratch and all that. But really, the same advice we give as new people, we're giving to ourselves. Just got list.
Well, the thing is, I would have a lot more items. I would have almost 300 items if I wasn't listing in the other store. Because I'm trying to break it up. Because I don't want my other store to go dormant and not be listing on that. Because I want more activity in both stores.
And we're kind of formulating kind of strategy where the second store has more of the bread and butter items.
Yeah.
Like $30 to $50 items or less, and our original store has maybe
higher price
some more of the special items, since our original store has all the feedback and has the
reputation.
Its reputation that might make someone pay us $400 for an item.
Right.
So we have 200 items in that store. We have we sold 5 items.
Good.
For about $155.
Hey, that's great.
Yeah. I mean, I'm always amazed when people will put their numbers on the blog and they're like, I have 400 items in it's my store, or 300 items in my store, and I made like $600.
Yeah, I'm like, holy shit.
That's incredible.
I know. That's why I love to see people's numbers, because I'm like, what did you sell?
Right. So, if we were selling $150 a week, that's $600. That's pretty good for a small, a little store. I think about that would pay like all of our like electric bill,
all those bills. Gas,
exactly, all that stuff. So the highest price sold was $40 for some frame prints.
Yes.
It's like we said, we're kind of keeping this like the bread and butter store.
Yeah.
So our average price was about $30.
It's good average price.
$30.08. It was almost right on the nose.
Yeah. Isn't that funny?
It's returns, and you listed. So there are 200 items in the store now, but you listed 40 of those.
40. Okay. Yep.
Just as past
basically,
week.
I listed like half of what I listed in the other store.
Right.
So
at that rate, as you're adding 200 items every a month to it's a store. So
yeah,
I mean, our goal is to get this store up to 1,000
plus.
It's 1,500 items.
Yeah,
in the
why
store.
not?
I would love to start making like a couple $1,000s a month.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
yeah, just have 2 stores going, and I'm having fun with it.
Yeah,
I mean, I've learned a lot from it. So
yeah, I mean, it's almost like having this second store is neat because we feel like we can't do any wrong. Like it's like the total experiment store.
Yeah, it's just
we can put up things, we can list any way we want.
Just try stuff.
Yeah,
it's fun.
It's cool. So some of the things we sold this week was like number 1 was a Batman mask.
Yes.
That some people on the blog had helped us.
Yes, Anne had suggested that we put Gotham in the title because Gotham is a new show about Batman.
Yeah.
Which I did not think of. I had heard of that show, but I didn't think to...
Yeah, we were like Dark Knight. But
yeah.
It was like a Batman, like a nice... like professional mask from like
the first movie
80s, yeah, from
1989,
yeah, and it had like the original tag on it, so it was like from Hollywood. And stuff.
Yeah, it was really really cool, and we found it at a thrift store for like under $5.
And so we had put it up, about a week ago, and then Anne suggested we put that word.
Gotham, yeah.
And I don't know if it's sold because of that or it's just sold whatever.
Randomly.
But someone bought it outright. And
it was $250. Someone in Australia through Global Shipping Program.
Yep.
So that was great.
And that's a good example, too. We weren't the only ones that had a mask.
Right.
It's like this.
And actually, someone had an auction end a couple days before I listed it, and then he relisted it at, buy it now, $150. But... I don't think he was selling internationally. Wow. That's what I had over... Because I was like, why would anyone buy mine if they could just buy this guy's? Well, I don't think that guy was willing to ship to Australia.
Yeah, so ship everywhere.
So ship everywhere because I eat your lunch on that one.
Yeah.
Buddy.
I drink your milkshake.
Yeah, that's right.
So I mentioned our highest price item this week were 2 of these like lamps from a ship.
Yeah, they were nautical lamps from an actual, like, steamship called the what was it called? The Sovereign. Oh, I forget what it was called. It's a British ship.
We had them up for, I think, $300 each.
I think it was like $350 each.
Because we were selling them, individually, and some guy gave us an offer for both of them.
$200 for both. I was selling them in quantity because I was like, I'm going to try to make as much as I can.
And we bought them for
I think they were $35 for the pair, unless it was on sale, but I'm pretty sure.
Yep. And so, so we took an offer, so we went down from $700 to $400.
Right.
And, but we only paid whatever, $35 for them.
When someone gives me a $400 offer, I'm like, yeah.
But this is what's interesting. So we sold it to this fancy ship store, like a store that sells ship stuff, old.
Yeah, in Boston.
It's nautical stuff. And, I went to the guy's a website, and it's like one of these places that like Mitt Romney would go to,
or like whoever, John Kerry, like like where he is in Boston, like John Kerry could like walk to his house,
like downtown Boston, and things, and he's obviously buying this probably to resell because he sells lamps.
Those.
He will sell a pair of lamps for like $2,000 or $3,000. So he may be buying from us for $400 and then flip them for $3,000.
I think he's gonna flip them.
And you know what? Good luck to him.
Yeah.
That's all good because, he's invested in all that infrastructure to create this kind of, we always talk about putting things in a new context.
Right.
He's taking it off of eBay. John Kerry's not going to buy stuff off
on
of eBay.
He
wants to walk into a beautiful store with it's all beautiful wood.
Yeah.
And ship anchors.
Antique nautical,
polished brass.
Yeah, it's just
anchors or whatever. Yeah. And he's going to pay $3,000 there. So it's kind of the ecology.
Yeah.
We bought this from a state where they weren't throwing it away, but they were basically giving it away because they were just trying to move it.
Right.
And so we buy it from them for $35, and then we're selling it kind of upstream.
Right.
And then he's going to sell it for, whatever, $2,000 to a fancy person that has a yacht.
Yeah.
And they're going to go in his yacht.
Right, exactly.
On the wall.
Right.
And so it's kind of cool,
Well, it's cool. It's like we want to reach those types of customers that would pay $2,000 plus for them, but like we've heard before, there's certain people that don't shop on eBay because they're.
Although at the same time, it teaches us. I mean, we're happy. No, it regrets it all. But if we were ever find these again, maybe we would list them for hire.
Right. Maybe. But I had them up for a while at $350 make an offer.
True.
So, what can you do? Someone gives you an offer of $400. I'm like, yes.
Yeah.
Perfect.
I think this also is an example of why we love scavenging like this.
Yeah.
It's like there are these moments when an item could get lost, could get thrown away. So, someone dies.
Yeah.
And the estate goes up for sale. The kids normally don't want, 90% of the stuff that this person saved in his or her life. And there's that moment where that stuff could get lost.
Yeah.
But people like us come in there and we grab it and we then give it to someone new.
Yeah.
And so these lights will go on someone's yacht and maybe get saved for another generation.
Right.
So, that a link hasn't been, it's broken. And for me, that's very gratifying.
Well, it reminds me of Kate on the blog was saying that she found these 3 vintage Coach purses at the dump, the swap or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's just so amazing because you're like, someone was throwing those away.
Right.
And those are things that, obviously my next thought is how much stuff has been thrown away that is priceless, but you can't think like that. I'm just glad there's scavengers out there to go grab stuff that is special that someone else thinks is trash, obviously.
Yeah. And it's neat. It always makes me feel good. And like I've heard other people say in the blog, it also affirms my taste. And I know that sounds very egotistical, but I think that's part of it. It gives me pride that, we saw these lamps. I mean, anyone could have bought them they're really cheap. I mean, these are cheaper than like crappy lights that are made in China from Lowe's, you know?
Yeah.
$35 for these.
I mean,
lights.
I paid $100 for just a regular, like...
Crappy. So
crappy
anyone
light,
could have bought these, but we bought them, and then we, were able to get them to be bought by someone that really sees the value in it. Like someone
the beauty and the value.
That's about historical shipping.
Yeah, you're like, oh, this is when we saw who who it was, because the reason we could see it was his address was the gallery, and his email address was the website. But it's so beautiful because we looked at it and we're like, oh, this is the exact person that I wanted to buy this. Like, no one else in the world.
It's like that lamp that was a pain in the butt too.
The big yellow lamp, yeah.
It went to a store in
Los Angeles,
in LA, that sells like fancy,
like
furniture.
mid-century modern furniture and lighting.
Anyway, we're going on about it. So yeah, that's an exciting thing for us. We sold a leather and fur purse.
Yeah, it's more like a doctor's bag. It actually sold for $150.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Jay has it written down $125. Oh no, it sold for $150.
We got an offer on it.
Yeah, we got an offer, and I think I ended up for $179, so it wasn't that far off. But this was this amazing, like, 1950s. It almost looks like a contemporary, like, designer bag. It didn't really have, like, a designer name on it. It was just this, like, leather and, like, fur bag, and it just, you'll see it in the video too. That was really amazing. I'm so glad someone like saw it and was like, yep, $150, it's definitely worth that. I'm like, yes, it is worth that.
So we sold these 3, they're it's filter cartridges,
water filters
for some kind of like it's water filter, and they were packaged brand new. They're
sealed,
and they sold for $160
for all 3. And we bought them for $1.
We always do well on those kind of like filters, and these are things that you normally see in like yard sales or at an auction. It'll be like in a box lot, because it's so random. Like, I didn't know what it went to. Like, even on the thing itself, it didn't really explain what it went to, but it had a number on it.
Yeah, it had a brand and a number.
And I know from experience that filters are expensive.
Yeah.
And so we brought it home, we look it up, and like on Amazon, they sell for like, $200 for 3 of them, so we just underpriced it.
Yeah.
To just move
So we took an offer of $160 for 3, and we were like laughing because I think we bought them for $1 each, maybe $1 for all 3. Probably because at the store they were like, we don't know what they are, just get them out of here.
Yeah, I mean,
we're like, well, we don't either, but we know they're worth a lot of money. So
I knew that they were worth more than $1. So
yeah,
that was a good sale. Another thing is we sold a bed.
Yes.
So, we sell furniture on local pickups.
Right.
So we don't ship this stuff. And we do pretty well with it. Every month we sell at least one piece.
Yeah, and the thing about this is people can come pick it up from us, or they can hire someone off like uship.com. We've had someone do that before.
Yeah, and we always, on the listing, we have numbers or websites for shippers that they can contact, and figure all that information.
Yeah, and we're like, we'll gladly coordinate with your shipper.
So this is a person that bought the bed
for $100.
Yeah, $100.
It's a bed frame.
Yeah, it's a bed frame, like it's a steel or a
it's
steel,
some
bed
kind of
frame.
Metal.
Kind of like the old tubular bed.
Yeah, it's from the 30s.
We wanted more for it, but we were like, we bought it for $3. We were like, let's just
sell it for $100.
But you know what? These people haven't picked it up. It's been
they bought it in April.
Yeah, so it's
like they bought it in the middle of April. Yeah. It's now like almost the middle of June.
And so we get an email or we get a message from them every couple weeks where they're asking like a question like, "Where are you?" And we just tell them,
how do we do the pickup? The thing is, they're in another country. They're in Brazil.
Right.
So they are trying to get to a shipping company in Miami, which isn't a big deal if they coordinate it with someone. But every couple weeks, they'll email us just a random question. How much is it to ship it? We're like, you have to figure that out,
but this is one of those examples of just like, we're not stressed about it.
No, they paid.
They paid for it. We have their money. We've been very upfront. We've explained it to them. I mean, they understand what the deal is. They're choosing to be slow. And that's on them.
Now, they wrote us today asking for our location. What did you write back to them?
I gave them
just our address.
Yeah,
Okay.
Because, they're probably trying to coordinate it with
the
a
shipper.
shipping company.
Yeah.
And,
it's just funny.
It doesn't matter to us.
I mean, I really feel, and this has happened with people who live in the same state as us, where they take like a month to come get it. As long as they're communicating and as long as they've already paid, so you're not like opening an unpaid item case, I'm fine with it.
I mean, that's the biggest part. As long as they pay, then it's really on them.
Yeah, you're like, I have your item and I have your money.
I think this is the thing with a local pickup, or with if you're willing to ship stuff or have stuff shipped. We learned that it's better that we don't deal with a shipper, because then we waste a lot of time getting quotes and estimates to send to its buyer. So it's like we're more like a middle person between these two parties, and and then the buyer's like, I don't like that
price.
Find something else, and then I feel like I'm their employee. Forget that.
Yeah.
You call them, you figure it out.
Here's my address.
This is our address. If you organize it, we'll meet the guy to come pick it up. That's the best way for us. I mean, we looked into how to become freighters.
Yeah, like to crate stuff.
I was thinking, like maybe we could crate furniture,
right,
and have and we could take care of that and just include that in the price. But it was a little bit too. It was more complicated than I wanted to deal with. Like putting on pallets, getting that plastic wrap. We're not in an urban area, so it'd actually be about an hour or so drive
up to the freight,
its closest freight place.
Or like Greyhound, everyone's like, do Greyhound. Greyhound's an hour and a half from us.
Right.
So you're like...
And Greyhound is only, again, I mean, it's only the stuff that goes underneath the bus.
It has to fit.
We had things that are tables.
Yeah.
So really, it just didn't work for us. I mean, unless we were going to be making like $2,000 on an item, it's worth the full 8 hours it would take for us to
just coordinate all that. Yeah, so we'll see. We'll definitely update you guys when it gets picked up.
And then I just wanted to mention something else about this second store that we started.
Yeah,
I mean, so we have almost 200 items in that store, so we've cranked up pretty quickly.
Right.
We also are dealing with the fact that we're brand new to sell in the store, and we have limits on that store.
Right.
But really, the way we got around it was we just subscribed to a store subscription.
Yeah. So the thing was, I had a limit on how much I could list. I forget how much it was, like 150 items for a new seller. But when I bought the premium store, which is the second tier store where you can list up to 500 items for no listing fees, they automatically, like a day later, upped me to 570 items. And I think it's because I bought a store. Because if they're saying, you can list 500 items, but your limit is 150, you're like, right. What?
So we're paying, it's $50
a month.
A month for that.
Yeah.
And, but then that ups. So it's really, it's going to take us a couple months to hit that 500 items.
Right.
And then by that time, we've sold hopefully enough that we have enough of a record where eBay's like, oh, well...
They lift your limits. Yeah, exactly.
So it really, that's... when people have been complaining about this, I didn't really know the answer because we...
Yeah, we hadn't had the experience.
Yeah, we hadn't had that experience in so long, but that's the answer.
Buy a store.
Right. I mean, and so I hear those people, they're like, but I'm new and I don't sell enough. Okay, it's $50 a month. We sold $150 just this past week.
Right.
So we're on track to sell like $600 worth of stuff.
Right.
So it's $50 for the store.
Right.
We're going to make $600. I mean, we still make out good. Maybe we're losing a little bit of money in these first couple months because we aren't taking the full advantage of the 500 it's free items that we can put in there. But the thing is, it's about trying to see the big picture.
Yeah. Well, and the
rather
other
than trying to float on those.
Well, the other part
listings.
too. Yeah. I get it. I understand. Like if you're just doing regular listings without a store or anything, it's like 20 cents a listing. Yeah, that adds up. I totally get that. So you should buy a store.
Right.
Like if you're being serious about this and you're not a hobby seller, why are you not buying a store?
Pay $50. You get automatically 500.
Just
listings free per month, or it's not free, but it's part of that.
Yeah.
And the goal here is to focus on a listing and selling,
right?
Instead of trying to manage, like, okay, when is there a free, like, I have 5 days where I have to list like crazy, and then I can't list anything. I have to wait till that next offer.
Yeah,
when eBay, it's just, you're wasting time. It's like you're saving a little bit of money up front, but you're losing money at the end. For us, the goal is to get this second store to be just another huge pipeline that's making, like, our goal right now is $2,000 a month.
That would be amazing.
We're willing to invest $50 a month in order to get to a point where we can make $2,000. Right. And if we're losing a couple dollars here or there, who cares?
And that $50 is a tax write-off. So those are business expenses, you know, that you don't have to pay taxes on. Right. So those are good things.
And again, I'm talking to the people who are starting off new, who want to make this a business.
Right.
Who are trying to do this full time, and they're like, I want to pay all my bills with this. I mean, then invest. And I'm not saying go and, you know, spend $2,000 getting all this equipment. I'm just saying $50
for fees,
a month.
Basically.
If you're just doing this part time and it's just a hobby, well then you know, do the free listings.
Right.
Any dollar, more than dollar that you make is all bonus, so it's good.
Yeah.
You know? Okay. It's customer problems. It's this week.
Yes.
Issues. Really, we had none. We had 2 things. It returned to us, and this was just kind of from that big batch of items that we shipped off right after we came back from
right. It was inevitable.
Holidays.
It's like when you have 50 things ship out at once.
There's always going to be, you know, again, if it's return rates 2 to 4, it's %, and you ship out, it's 50 items. You know, you'd expect 2 things back. Ours was a little bit more than that. You know, it was no big deal. It was interesting this week, right when we were falling asleep. Ryan got. Why don't you explain it?
So on my PayPal card, I have it send me an email every time I use it. Actually, on any of my cards, I have that. Awesome. Yeah, which is great. And I have another credit card too where I have that as well. It gets kind of annoying sometimes, but the reason you want to do that is if someone uses your card without you knowing it. I mean, how else would I know that if it didn't send me an email? I never look at my statements. PayPal as a debit card, I don't look at my statements. I just look at the emails. So I'm ready to fall asleep. I'm checking my email. There's a transaction in another state for $350 at a Rite Aid. And at first I was like, did I buy something online, like from something? I'm like, I didn't spend $350 on anything. I clearly would have talked to you about it. Like, let's buy this thing. And I was like, someone used my card number. And so I called PayPal, and they canceled my card right away, and they refunded me the next day.
And I just have to say how cool I thought the whole process was. That, you know, it was 11 o'clock at night.
Yeah, it was late at night. Or
later. You called PayPal immediately. They answered immediately, and they said, we'll take care of it.
Yeah.
We're going to take it off. It'll take about 4 hours or so. Yeah. We'll take it off. You'll be made whole. We canceled this card, and we'll send you a new card, and a new card came in like a week.
Yeah.
So it was great.
Yeah, it was really good. And it really helped to have that email come in, because it was like, you know, I thought, I didn't use my card tonight, so what is that?
You know, we were trying to think, how did that happen? I guess, like, when we were at a store or something, someone must have had a swiper or something that, like...
There's that, yes, because I researched it after, because I know I've heard of this before, where they can clone your card, like, from a gas station or from, like, a Walmart terminal or something like that. But then I thought, I wonder if they could have just gotten it off of a website, too. Like, you know, gotten that card info. I'm not sure, but there are ways to clone cards that people clearly do, because they didn't have my card. My card wasn't stolen. Right. I had it in my wallet, but someone had used my number.
So anyway, I mean, this is why we're big proponents of chip and pin cards.
Yes.
Those of you, I mean, this is kind of a little bit geeky, but in Europe, they have credit cards like we do, but they're called chip and pin, where the card itself has a chip in it that has to be verified when you swipe it. And every time you swipe it, you have to put in a PIN number too. Right. It's so crazy in America where someone could just pick up your credit card on the ground and take it to the gas station.
And use it.
And use it.
Fake your signature.
Right. I mean, it's crazy.
The theory is they're supposed to check the signature on the back of the card. I've never once in my entire life of having a debit card, which is like half my life,
Right.
ever had anyone check the signature.
Right. So, and then I guess, then what people do is they run up big bills in the first day or something before they get caught, and then that card is no good. But it's just, and the only reason why I think they're going to start to do it in the next couple of years in America, they just haven't done it just because of the cost, because it's just going to cost the credit card companies and businesses. Everyone has to get
the new terminals,
machines. And
there are new machines in Walmart. I mean, I've used we have a chip card now because we want to go to Europe and use it, but it's been great. It's worked great.
But, I think they're finally starting to do it after Target got hit a year ago when 500,000 credit cards got stolen or something like that. Their info
I think it was more than that. It was like hundreds of thousands of credit cards.
I think it's finally starting to hurt them because in this case, someone bought $350 worth of stuff at a Rite Aid. We probably bought like a cool pair of headphones,
just like
a bunch of cigarettes,
expensive
and,
stuff,
whatever. And PayPal, I don't know who's eating that. Like, is it Rite Aid that eats it? Is it PayPal that eats it? Like, someone stole $350 worth of stuff, and one of those companies is having to eat it.
I think it's Rite Aid because how they explained it to me on the phone, and this is what happens to people on eBay too. You get a chargeback. So the credit card company's like, this is fraudulent. My customer did not do this, so you need to give us our money back.
Wow.
From Rite Aid. And then it's Rite Aid's problem to look at the security cameras at 9:15 p.m. at this Rite Aid.
Yeah, like they didn't check a signature.
Or whatever it was. And so it's their fault.
So, hopefully it's finally becoming expensive enough to where companies are starting to say, we're willing to upgrade. And so that way, if someone steals your credit card, they can't use it because they don't know it's your PIN number. They can't clone your card or get it online because, again, they don't know that PIN. And that's a thing.
Although in the U.S., those chip cards don't require a PIN.
Right, which is...
So you're like, so what's the point?
Right.
It's just crazy, so...
Okay, what we did this past week. First, I want to say, we had talked about last month that now that we finished redoing that farmhouse, we've been pouring money into it, getting it ready. Yeah. It's now pouring money back out to us,
Thank
which
God.
we love. So it's now going the opposite way. We're now going to pay off our debt. And, I said we had, about $200,000 worth of debt. It's mainly like land and homes and stuff.
Yeah.
And so our goal is in 5 years to pay it all off. So we're going to start making extra payments. So the first month, right at the end of last month, we paid off $2,000 towards one of our loans.
We did that this week,
which is great. It's a huge, good feel.
Yeah, we took a chunk out of our loan, one of our smaller loans.
Didn't that feel good?
Yeah, I had no idea we were going to do it. I mean, I knew we were, but we pulled up to the bank, and I was like,
I wanted to do it in person. I want to be
like,
I want you to take money out of this account,
and
put it towards all the principal of my loan. So we have a loan of about $20,000.
Right, for a piece of land.
We can get this thing paid off in 8 months.
I hope. Yeah, let's pay it off.
And then the other thing we did, we hadn't mentioned this, we had some credit card debt.
Yes, from the other house.
Because we've been using our credit card to buy some materials and lumber and tile,
stuff, paint, all that stuff.
We had floated some flights on there, some business expenses, like when we travel. So we had $9,000 in credit card debt. We paid off $9,000 worth of credit card debt.
Yep. That's a huge chunk. We had been saving for several months to do that.
Well, I mean, last month was a big deal for us because we had made its money on that trip where we did some video work.
Yep.
So all of that money went there. We had eBay money, and we had money coming in from our So we had a good month last month, and we decided to just throw it all at debt.
Yeah.
And so that was awesome.
Yeah. Which was really good. Basically, we started what we wanted to, paying off debt. We were like, we're starting paying off debt right now.
Right. We are just going to make sure we do use a credit card. We have an Amazon card, so we get 1% back, and then we get points towards Amazon that we can buy stuff on Amazon. So we're using those points to buy it's goods for the a rental,
Right.
soap and just stuff.
Yeah, just household stuff that we need.
And it's interesting, you know, there's that blog, it's Frugal Woods, that we've a link to.
Yeah.
They're like a youngish couple
Yeah.
in Boston or in Cambridge.
Yep.
And they talk about how much they save, and they're saving up all
Right.
their money. And they post their expenses each month. We basically save like they do. You know?
Ah, that's interesting.
About 70% of our income
Yeah.
we save.
Good.
You know? And so if we continue to do that, we can just throw it all at this debt.
Yeah. Live frugally and use that money to pay off our debt.
Seriously.
Which we already do anyway.
Right. And I mean, I think the other thing is they say something good. I think we've never really verbalized this between ourselves, but they say it. They assume they aren't going to spend anything.
Yes.
You know? And that's true for us. Like,
Right.
there are days since we work at home where we don't spend any money at all.
Right.
You know, because we work at home, we aren't buying coffee out. We
Right.
aren't, like, buying lunches.
Yeah. We're just making food at home, cheap food.
We don't use a lot of gas
Yeah.
because we don't really go anywhere.
Right.
I mean, and if we make any purchase over like $50, we talk about it.
Right.
you
That's
know?
why I said when
Yeah.
the credit card was some random $350 purchase, I'm like, whoa, I don't remember talking about that.
And so I think that's what has been important for us, is just like, it's not like it's difficult for us to save money, because it's just a natural thing, because we just don't spend
Yeah.
money.
Right.
You know? That's a big deal. Okay, so, you know, what I did this past week, I took photos of shoes. You know, I talked
Yes.
about that. It's like, last week I have these piles of shoes, and I'm taking pictures of them. I probably have another 3 more days. We just bought a big bag of shoes.
We just bought a
so it's
bunch
kind of
of shoes.
extending that a little bit more. But
Yeah.
I'm on that roll, and it's good though.
Yeah, yeah.
These are all really awesome
High
shoes.
quality.
I remember when we first started selling on eBay, and I told one of my best friends, I told him what we were doing, and I said that we were selling old shoes on
shoes.
eBay, because that's kind of what we were doing, old shoes
Yeah.
and coats. And he just couldn't believe. He was like, who would buy
Used shoes.
used shoes?
That's so
on
gross.
eBay.
All the time. People buy used shoes all the time.
I buy
used
on
shoes.
eBay.
Of course, now
because
I do.
it's a good commodity.
Yes.
Because
Everyone needs shoes.
I am surprised, and I always have been, when we go and we're buying shoes. I guess I just assume like they're going to be smelly or dirty. Most of these shoes, it looks like, I guess there are people that buy multiple pairs of shoes, and they wear them a couple times, you know, or maybe
Yeah.
for a season, and then throw them in the back of the closet. And these are the ones where,
Yeah.
you know,
Right.
these are the ones we buy. Very often they're dusty,
Right.
but they aren't smelly.
Yeah.
And
because
so-
people, yeah, exactly.
And people will wear them just where the soles are still good. They're in great shape.
Yeah.
It's so interesting.
I found this one pair of shoes that we were talking about resort wear. This is like some other resort wear that I found at a thrift store this week, which was crazy. I'm going through the shoes, the junkiest shoes. Digging.
In these bins of shoes.
Now, I was digging through some junky shoes, like sneakers that
Sure.
have mud caked on, like just, oh my God, right? So I'm going through this bin, and there's a pair of black velvet flats by Dolce & Gabbana.
Right.
I was like breathless. I was like, what am I looking at right now?
Why hasn't someone gotten these?
Why
you know?
hasn't someone gotten them? Why are they here?
Right.
Who had these shoes that they are at this thrift store? You know, I'm having all these questions, so I throw them in my cart, right?
And then in my pile, because I'm kind of right, it's next to you,
Yeah.
I find a pair of Ferragamos.
Oh, we found
You know?
3 pairs of
Yep.
Ferragamos, so
So-
same person, right? But check it out. So I'm thinking, okay, these might be like the low end. You know, like when you find Ralph Lauren shoes, you're like, there's some really high end Ralph Lauren shoes that you can buy. There are some really cheap ones too. So I'm thinking Dolce & Gabbana, okay, these are like the cheap version. Oh no, they're not. They are, I found the exact same pair that sold, that were new, not used, sold on eBay for $450.
Right. Yep.
Double take. I'm like,
And we got
what?
'em- and we got them for $1. you
I
know?
mean, I think they were less than that. I think they were like
Yeah.
50 cents, you
Yeah.
know?
So,
yeah.
I mean, the only thing we can think of is kind of what Kate was talking about when she found those fancy
Coach bags.
purchases going to the garbage, that some lady
Yeah.
either died or was emptying out its closet, and they just brought them to the closest thrift store that happened to be this one.
Yep, throw them in a bag, give them to the thrift store. Thank God Ryan found them.
Yeah,
because I know what to do with them.
But I think that's the other thing. I think a lot of people don't like to dig.
Yeah.
I think that's why when people just go to Goodwill, I'm like, oh, if you just go to Goodwill, it's just so... It's not that it's easy. It's just like there's already gone through several layers of people that have filtered out stuff. And then by the time it's all hung up or the shoes are put out really nicely, like, you can still find good stuff. We always find stuff at Goodwill.
Yeah.
But... you get the real treasure when you try and get as close to that waste stream as possible, where like no one's really gone through it. They've just dumped shoes in there. The shoes aren't even paired up, so we're having to go through multiple bins to try and pair them up,
Yeah.
And then you can find stuff like this.
Yeah.
Like, wow.
It was incredible. I could not believe it. I was in shock. I'm still in shock.
And then what you were doing this week is just a listing. It was great.
I was
you were
listing.
Just getting on a roll.
Yep.
So
as we talked about that already, so I won't go into it. But I've been having fun listing.
Now, this is something that I didn't know was happening, but
that's so weird.
I learned that you have an obsession with like Pinterest. And
I'm not obsessed with the Pinterest. I'm obsessed with certain crafts and DIY projects on Pinterest.
These women on Pinterest who use Pinterest to show how they're remaking expensive like lamps and homeware.
No, I've talked about this before, where I find these women on Pinterest, they're like super DIYers, but they're like a different level of DIY for me. Like, they're not punk rock DIY. They're like homemaker DIY. It's a different thing. It's like moms who are into like decorating their house on a budget and like they're amazing. Some of their stuff I'm just like, oh my God, I would never do that. And some of their stuff I'm like, that's incredible. That looks so cool. They like repurpose something from the thrift store, just like we love, into something that looks like it's worth like $300. It's so cool. So I've been like obsessing over these like lighting projects, like making pendant lamps,
out of like jars.
Out of jars. I mean, there's the whole mason jar pendant lamp. Right. It's so overdone. It's ridiculous. It's cool looking, but whatever. So
just like the people that are putting like "eat" like a sign that says "eat" in their kitchen.
That's
like,
my whole thing. I just
God bless people that do that, but it's getting a little overdone.
It's just there's a lot of overdone stuff.
No more messages on your walls,
or just like in the laundry room, they have like a big thing that's like clean or something like that. I don't even know. It's just like an overdone. Like you'll see it in Pottery Barn and stuff like that. But whatever. So it's that kind of style, and I definitely love some of those styles, and I've just been getting a little obsessed with that because, number one, I love lighting. I love selling lamps. I love finding vintage lamps. I love putting up crazy lighting things in our houses.
And nice lamps are expensive.
Nice lamps are very, very expensive. My mom was telling me about this lamp that she wants to buy. The thing is $900. I'm like, okay, that's crazy. Yeah. It's beautiful. It's gorgeous. It's incredible.
But you... showed me some of these, I guess they're scrapbooks or something on Pinterest.
Yeah, they're boards. They're called boards.
And it's cool. A woman will say, okay, here's a photo from a West Elm
or Pottery Barn.
This light here's $400. Here's my light, and I paid $20, and it looks the exact same.
Or less.
And then they explain how they do it. And I'm like, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's really cool. So my thing is, what I want to try to do is, I've been buying materials here and there and just having ideas of like, can I make a cool funky lamp out of this thing and then sell it? Right. That's the question.
So yesterday we went to town because we live in a rural area.
We went to a bigger town, yep.
We went to the closest, biggest town. It's nearest, which is about half an hour away.
Yeah.
For like a day of just town stuff.
Yeah.
And we went to a farmer's market because I had seen... in advertisement, there's like a small company that sells like
native plants.
It's native plants, and we're into like I'm a total old man now, so I'm all about my gardens, and so
am I.
So I was like, cool, it's not like these plants you buy at a Lowe's like azaleas. I want like the weird kind of
like native to our
local
area.
plants.
Yeah.
So I actually paid $7 a plant. You know, I paid
I could not believe it. I was like, I can't believe this is happening right now.
And these are basically just like weeds.
I mean,
you know?
they are basically like, I mean, if you think about it, they're like native weeds.
Right.
But the thing is, they're native plants. Like if you go to the Highline Park in New York, those are all like you would look at those in certain contexts and be like, those are weeds.
Yeah.
No, they're like native to the area, and you can.
And so,
make them
and the
beautiful.
way I justified it was, I'm going to plant these that we've already done, and they'll propagate, and so then we can split them up and then plant them in other places. So it's almost
native
like
plants around
it's
your
you're
yard.
investing in just like a starter kit, that will then hopefully spread.
And what we liked about it was these are just local business people. It was a couple. Yeah. They're kind of like us, where
super nerdy.
Yeah, they're super like they were so funny. They were like putting labels on the little potter plants or the potter jars. And they were like saying it in the Latin names. Right. I'm like, are you serious right now? Like, that is amazing.
Cool. So then we went thrifting, and we went to like Goodwills and like a couple independent thrift stores. Didn't it was like one of those days that I think bums out a lot of people, but it's just the way it is. We didn't really find a whole lot of cool stuff. Yeah. But we probably got 4 bags of items. Probably paid about $40.
Right.
And, it's nothing like amazing. But Ryan was buying like all these weird jars and glasses. And I was like, what are we...
Yeah, well, it was so funny. Because the last 2 days, because we were thrifting yesterday, or the day before yesterday. And I'm buying all these weird like vases and like... things that hold. He's just like, what the hell? He's like, is this for you or eBay? What is this for? And I'm like, I have this idea.
That's when I found out about the obsession.
So I don't know. I have some ideas of like things I want to build, and the other part about like building lamps and stuff is some of the components. If you want like the really fancy, like looking like antique looking components for the lights, they're kind of expensive. You're like $15 for like an antique light socket.
Like when you do that. I mean, I'm supportive of all this. Yeah. But like when you were trying to make pendants or
jewelry,
necklaces and stuff, I was always like, it's cool, but you got to make sure it's going to sell for a good amount of money, because the amount of time you put into it, like it can't just be like $8, because then it's like, what's the point?
Yeah. Like basically you have to sell these lamps for like $100.
Yeah, $100.
Yeah.
I think $400.
Yeah,
like $100.
But if you put the time into getting the nice components so it looks professional and beautiful and well done, I think you can be like, this is $250. Right. It's custom made. Yeah. It's unique. Yeah. No one has one like it.
But the most important thing is it's fun.
It's fun.
Like if you're enjoying doing this, it's more like it's just a fun.
It's a hobby.
And then if you make money from it, cool.
Right. I think I'm going to try a few. There's a few that I'm going to start with. Yeah. And if I'm successful with that, with like my vision of what I want something to look at, like. I'll keep going. With necklaces, I stopped making necklaces. I could not sell them to save my life. They were so cool and fun, and I love making my own necklaces for myself now. Could not sell them to save my life. Yeah. Not on Etsy, not on eBay. They sold eventually when I was like, okay, these actually are $8. Yeah. But, so that was my experience.
And then we went to, then in town, we ate some barbecue, which I love.
Yes, we had barbecue. That was good.
And we sat in the park and ate it.
Barbecue made by Mennonites.
And then we went to a movie and saw like a sci-fi film. Yeah. Which, again, another one of my favorites. We saw Ex as Machinima.
Yeah.
Ex Machina, is that?
Machina. I think it's Ex Machina.
Yeah.
It's fun. A British sci-fi film,
totally fun and cool.
It was at this independent theater that we like to go to, which is they play like more independent, because I don't think that's playing at big theaters, is it? Well, it might be. It should be.
Probably in big towns that have 22 screen theaters.
Yeah,
it'll play there.
Yeah, it was a really good film.
It was fun. It was a great day for us, and that's a good example of what like a scavenging day is for us. We mix different hobbies we have with scavenging, with some entertainment, with eating some good food. Right. I mean, it doesn't feel like work, but again, we got about 4 bags of stuff, and after it all gets put up and all sells is within the next 12 months, hopefully. And, we're going to make $400-$500.
Basically, we make back the money we paid for, our movie, our barbecue, and our coffee, and all that stuff, and the plants that we bought.
Okay, so the other thing we did is this week is we ran a rental property.
Yes.
We had mentioned last week that we were worried about it not being booked very much, and it turned out to be true. We could not rent during the week to save our lives. So it was empty for 5 nights.
It felt like a long time.
We only had people in for Friday and Saturday night.
Yep, and they left this morning.
And the problem is it's the same thing for this coming week. We tried to list on
Craigslist. Lower the price. I haven't lowered the price yet.
We're lowering the price.
Yeah.
Someone sent me an email saying well, why don't you offer a free night when they book a week? And we already do that. We have a weekly price where if you book for 6 nights, you get the 79th free.
Right.
Maybe what I could do is I could better advertise that, because it doesn't really say that. It just it's over on its pricing side.
If you choose those nights, So what we found out is I was talking to someone at one of our local thrift stores that knows we have our rental, and she's like, school's not out yet. Right. That's why you're not getting bookings for a week. Is people aren't on vacation with their kids yet.
Right, or at least here where we are, there were a lot of snow days, so the school year got extended.
Right,
so
by a couple weeks.
That's why people haven't been coming to stay during the week.
Because we're like, it's June. What's going on? I'm like, oh, yeah. Up in Massachusetts, we wouldn't get out until the second week of June. Okay. That's normal. Yeah. But I didn't think that was the case down here. So,
but something else we're doing, there's a cabin that's actually down the street from us that we're going to start to watch their calendar.
Yeah.
They have a website. We're going to kind of secretly stalk them. They've actually been in business for a couple of years now, so they're ahead of us. But we're going to watch and just learn from them and see, are they being booked when we aren't booked?
Yeah.
What are they keeping their prices? Do they have dynamic prices that are changing?
Yeah.
It's just like eBay,
Yeah.
We're going to learn from other people and just, try and learn their tips and tricks,
Yeah, I think it's important to compare what you're doing to what other people are doing, just so you know, are we doing something differently? Are we doing it wrong? Should we be doing what they're doing? Are they more successful?
I think that's what's so interesting about doing any of these online businesses is there's all the info, or much of the info is pretty transparent.
Right, it's there, yeah.
It's different where I had a brick and mortar store, and then if you had a brick and mortar store,
you couldn't.
You can't really, except by just eyeballing who's coming in and out.
Yeah.
But it's interesting with these online stores and rental properties, you can kind of see,
how they're doing.
And, it's not hurting them. I want them to do well, but I want us to do well too.
And I want to see, because they're doing well, what are they doing that we can also do?
Right,
because we feel like the market is big enough, the demand is big enough in our area that, great, they're rented, we should be rented too.
Right, I mean, it's just like eBay. We do this podcast and we tell people a lot of stuff.
We tell everyone what we
show
sell.
People what we sell, and people are like, oh, I bought this too and now I'm selling it. And part of me would be like, wait a second, we're creating our own competition. But my thing is, if eBay can't handle multiple people selling items, the same items, then it's not a robust marketplace, and it wouldn't matter if we were totally secret and quiet, because it wouldn't be a healthy marketplace.
Right.
I want to encourage more people to be goods sellers, give people good experience, sell cool stuff. I want people to learn that eBay, right now at least, is a place to go.
Yeah, exactly.
And maybe eBay will, blow up and not be a good place, but it's good now, and if not, it'll be someplace else.
Yeah.
Like I always say, eBay is just a soulless corporation, and we're just...
I mean, also, I just feel like there's enough people wanting cool stuff that also we sell unique enough items that the person next to us who's also selling unique items isn't going to have the same stuff as us.
I think that's the thing why, the retail arbitrage people, all good. I would be worried about that if, my store had, 5 items in it,
Right.
I was dependent on... I'm selling, Pampas.
Pampa. You say...
Pampers. You know, like if that was my big thing, and I don't want anyone else to sell those at the price I'm selling, I'd be so quiet about it. Like, because if it's moved in on me, it would like kill, you know, a fifth of my business or something.
For those in the UK, Pampers are nappies.
Yeah.
Diapers. Nappies.
I like
You're
to
like, what's
say
a pamper? With a Boston accent?
Yeah. Or
Pampers.
It's a New Jersey accent.
Get some Pampers in the store. Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about some news.
News. I think that's out of Sesame Street. Sesame Street has like this little news segment.
You know, we find some things online that are kind of around online selling, or people email them to us, and so I'm glad to talk about them if people talk about, you know, find them. I found this really cool article in the New York Times about millionaires who are frugal.
That's interesting.
And they interview people. It's like this. There is a segment of society where people have like a couple under $10 million.
Right.
You know?
Which to us is a lot, but to some people,
but you know, if
not much.
If you and your wife are making $100,000, a couple $100,000 each, and you're pretty determined, if you can save up over a period of 20 or 30 years, if you could save up a couple $1 million, $10 million, you know. But it's interesting, they kind of talk about these people because they're basically like working class or a middle class people that have just done well for themselves.
Right.
And they carry on those good habits.
Yes.
Even though they can afford more. And they each talk about things that they splurge on. A piece of art, a trip to Italy every year, you know, something like that. But ultimately they're pretty frugal, and I think that's cool, you know.
So what are they frugal? I mean, they're like, I drive the cheapest car possible, or...
Well, I mean, they say, you know, I buy a car every 10 years.
Right.
You know,
like normal people
I buy
do.
one car, I drive it for about 10 years, and then I buy another car.
Yeah.
And the car I buy isn't like a Porsche, it's just like a nice, like a Jeep Cherokee or something.
Right.
You know, and like, they don't have... They talked about, like one couple said, you know, when we started doing well for ourselves, we kind of like splurged one time on like a really big house.
Right.
And it was like a stupid thing we did because it was like more room than we needed. And then we sold it and took a loss. And we were like, no, let's just live in a condo. Like, let's
just live in a comfortable place.
They have like a condo near like their mom, a wife's mom, and then they have a condo in Florida. You know? So have like two small places versus one big luxurious place.
Yeah.
But, you know.
Well, that's interesting because I feel like we talk about this stuff all the time where it's like, okay, you could be doing really well, but what do you want to do with that money?
I mean, why don't you just think, like, for us, like, let's say we were able to, you know, keep doing well, pay bills, pay off our debt, and we had a couple $1 million.
Right.
Do you think we would be spending more than we do now?
I think we'd be spending it in different ways, though. Like, for us, it's about, like, investing in interesting business things or buying more real estate and having rentals. Like, I feel like, you know, that's different.
At some point, and again, this is totally, it's new territory for us.
Yeah.
I mean, at some point, if we invested in, like, several cabins or several businesses, I mean, these things are all going to start making its money, and you're going to have to start having cash. You know, you're going to have like more money than as you just keep expanding infinitely. But I feel like we would be the kind of people that would be the same way. Like, I kind of don't like to spend money because I don't like to feel like I'm getting ripped off.
Right, exactly. You want to spend money in a smart way. Right.
Like, I think I would splurge on some things. Like, I
think it's different when you've built yourself up to make money and you've worked your ass off to be like these people, I think, to be a millionaire. We're not millionaires, but you know what I mean? Versus being born into it, I think it's very different.
And actually the article talks about it, how...
I haven't read the article yet.
A lot of these people, you know, one reason why they are frugal is because there's always a feeling of how long will it last?
This can go away at any moment.
Like, they remember what it's like to... you know, not have a lot of cash, and so they know exactly it could go away. They could lose their jobs. One person gets sick, you know, all that
exactly.
Stuff.
So I think there's a different mentality of money. I've met several people who were born into rich families, and they don't treat their stuff nice. They don't care about their car. They don't care about their, whatever cool stuff that they have, because they can just get another. I don't know. It's just junk.
They've always had cash.
They've always had it.
Had money. So.
It's just, for us, I'm like, I treat everything as precious because I'm like, this cost me a lot of money. This is a precious item, like our camera, you know? I'm like, this is a very important tool for me. You know, like you have a different, perspective on material goods.
Yeah. Like, every once in a while we'll go and have a good meal.
Right.
And we'll spend like $60.
I mean, that is rare.
Between us. And sometimes, I'm like, oh.
Was it worth $60?
The value of that wasn't that good. It's pretty mediocre service. Like it makes me walk away with like a ripped off
Right,
feeling,
exactly.
So.
Yeah. We could talk about that for a whole 2 hours.
So we got another link from, this one was emailed by a Newberg picker.
Yep.
Who actually I think is like I don't know if he works on Wall Street, but he works in the financial industry. He also runs a eBay store. He sent a YouTube, it's like a little documentary about this Canadian couple who are living out of a converted van.
Yeah, like a little camper van.
They're, a youngish couple, probably maybe our age or a little a younger, and they kind of just show what their life is like and why they're doing it, and they it's a whole thing of like they're choosing to do all these things now while they're young.
Yeah.
And sacrificing for it because they don't have a home. They're living out of this van.
Yeah.
But they're going around staying with friends, but they're having adventures and being with each other. And one's an artist, so he can make his art wherever they go. Yeah. It's kind of interesting.
Yeah, I thought that was a cool video. I just like seeing people do alternative things because they can, I thought that was cool.
I don't know where I got this from. I think someone might have linked to it in the blog. I forgot. Pinterest, we were just talking about, is going to be a selling platform.
Right. So they're going to, and I figured this too, that they're going to start out with bigger companies, that if you see something on like Pottery Barn or Macy's.com, because those companies use Pinterest a lot to promote their designs and their stuff. There'll actually be a little buy button. Right. So you can buy through Pinterest.
And I was looking at the comments of a blog that I was reading about this, and people were like, it's already a selling platform.
That's all it is.
But the way it is now is like everyone's just linking to their eBay items.
Right.
Or Amazon items.
And you click through.
And you click through and buy on another site.
Right.
Pinterest, it seems like it's taken them a long time to figure it out.
Yeah.
Is saying, well, that's how they'll make their money, where you actually buy through Pinterest.
So like I could be a seller on Pinterest. I would love that. Right. I pin a lot of our stuff on our store. Yeah.
And then Pinterest probably takes a cut and all that.
Right, and Pinterest would take a cut. It kind of like
it's
Etsy.
Almost like Pinterest could be an eBay competitor,
It could.
I don't know.
Yeah. So I think that's going to take a little while, but it's very interesting because they have a lot of users. Yeah. They have millions of users.
Yeah. And all of these links we're talking about, we will put on the blog at scavengerlife.com if you're interested in clicking through and reading about it. It's Chris the Dollar Flipper, who has a blog as well. He was just interviewed for like a magazine, actually, about thrifting. Yeah. He sent us some links to a seller on eBay that puts his cats
in the photos. On the items.
So, for instance, the one we'll link to is there'll be like a military coat, and the cat is sitting on the coat itself. And that's the main photo. And then there'll be other pictures of the item, but the cat will be in multiple photos on the item. And he even says in there, like, there'll be some cat hair.
Okay, I love my cats. We have 3 cats. I love my cats. They are not allowed to sit on the items. Yeah. Sometimes they do, but I push them off and clean the item. Right. I mean, I don't even know what to say about that.
I mean, it's very strange. Like, maybe there will be people that love cats so much they don't care, but he does sell a lot of stuff. So
I don't understand that. I think it's completely unprofessional and insane. Yeah. I look at that and I'm like...
It's one of the things that makes me love eBay is that there is enough flexibility where you can do that. Like,
people will buy from you.
There's no rule against it, but just the market is going to tell you if it works or not. Right. Like, if he can sell stuff, then he can do
Go
that.
for it.
I think that's my thing with a lot of platforms that have popped up trying to compete against eBay. They have so many rules. Like we tried that Market 11 or what was
11 Main.
We thought, well, maybe we'll try that because this thing gets run by Alibaba. They had all these rules where you can't have like a picture of your hand in the photo. Like they wanted everything to look like a magazine. It's like, forget it. Like
I'm just like, you're never going to get the amount of sellers you want. They keep emailing me over and over and calling me. They would call me. And finally I had to say, stop calling me.
Right.
Like I can't deal
it's
with
because again, eBay's nice because it's really flexible.
Yeah.
Like they don't
care what the background is.
I know there's a lot of rules and stuff like that, but you can ultimately sell anything in any way that you want.
Right.
The only thing they care about is the experience the buyer has.
Right.
Like if you lie or send them something broken.
Yeah, stuff like that. But it's amazing to me that someone can put their cat not just in the photo, but on the item and still sell stuff. I'm like, what?
Another link. I actually made a separate blog post about it because it was so interesting.
Yes.
It's Nicole sent me the link to a Planet Money story, and that's an NPR kind of like a news team where they did a story on a retail arbitrage.
Yep.
And the reason why it was interesting to me was it's always cool to see what outside people think of what we all do on a day-to-day
or what we all
basis.
Talk about, because we don't do retail arbitrage.
Right.
But
and I love that the whole tagline is, this is a multi-million-dollar business for Sam, a retail arbitrage guy, and for lots of other people who do the same thing. And they said, how is this even a job, much less an industry?
Basically, they're like, how does this exist? This weird loophole.
And they go in with Sam into Toys R Us. Yeah. And he is like a scanner. And its reporter is helping or watching him scan stuff. Yeah. And just, and sees that he's able to find things off the shelf that are significantly sell more on Amazon. Right. And that he can buy them at retail prices.
Right. And still make money. Right. Lots of money.
Right. Although he got 3 kinds of items. Yeah. 2 of them seemed to sell well, and one of them the price kept plunging, so he probably has lost his money on that item. Right. But it seemed like at the end of the day, out. But it was just really interesting. And they talked to Ina from E-commerce Bytes. Yeah, that was interesting because I'd never heard Ina's voice. Right, she's the one that runs that site that I hate so much.
Yeah, you hate it.
I just hate it because it seems like
it's doom and gloom.
It seems like they know. I guess their audience is like people that hate eBay, so
that sell on eBay.
So they always So they're always focusing on the bad stuff. I don't know.
But what was interesting is
love you, Ina.
She did mention the Lily Pulitzer and Target incident that a lot of people have talked about, where Target had this whole Lily Pulitzer line. Now, I will say Lily Pulitzer died about 2 years ago, so it's not even her that's designing it. It's just her company. Right. And Target put out this line, and so many people bought the stuff on Target and flipped it on eBay like the next day.
I mean, there's all these...
For way more.
There's all these numbers, and who knows? I mean, someone was like, its resellers only bought 1% of it and then resold it, but it doesn't matter. I guess the reality, it's perception.
The hype, yeah.
There were a lot of stories had written about people angry about that, and so they mentioned this in the article, and they tried to get official comments from Target and Toys R Us and Kohl's and these stores that people go to do retail arbitrage, and none of them would talk to. Yeah. And so it'd be interesting, I don't know if they're not going to care because they're like, who cares? Or if they're going to try and start to do something about it.
I mean, one perspective, we already talked about this on the blog, on that post, but one perspective is Target and Toys R Us and whoever don't care who's buying it, just as long as it gets sold. It's like, I mean, they're like...
It's for sale.
It's for sale. If you want to buy 10 of them, I don't care. Anyone can buy 10 of them, or the whole shelf worth. But then you're like, well, but this guy marked up these like baby wipes from like $8 to $45. Why isn't Toys R Us selling it themselves on Amazon?
So it had been it's that big of a
it was
difference?
insane. I mean,
Wow.
the reporter, I forget how much he said he bought it for. But the reporter was like, "You're not going to make money on these. Look how much they're. What are you going to make? Like $3?" And then he scanned it in Amazon. He's like, "These are selling for $45 all day long."
Wow.
And the reporter's like, "What?
Wow.
Why?"
Yeah.
It's like, because people want it delivered to their door.
Yeah.
So
That's interesting. Okay, and things we learned in the comments. It's this week on the blog. I mean, we just talked about that story we linked, and people had a lot of things to say about that.
yes,
It always amazes me on the blog, and I think that's the reason why I enjoy doing this, just how many smart people there are out there.
yeah,
Really, I was always afraid when we started this blog, we'd start attracting kind of like, I don't know,
trolls.
trolls or people who just, I don't know. Each week I'm like, man, we put a lot of work in.
Yeah.
It's like a little bit of a part-time job.
I honestly think we put as much time as a part-time job into the blog.
But a lot of it is because we enjoy it.
We want to.
Because we spend time reading comments and talking. And
Yeah, I love
it. Learning from people. And it makes me want to be smarter and do better at this business.
Right.
I think if we didn't do this blog, or if we weren't a part of a group of people that were kind of sharing info, it's with each other, I think I'd get kind of complacent. Like
I think we would feel stagnant because
all by ourselves, we wouldn't think that we needed to change, or we wouldn't know what to change what we're doing.
I think what's great about the blog too is you're learning how other people are doing things, and you're like, I never thought to do that. I mean, that's happened so many times since we started the blog, where I'm like, wow, I didn't even think to do that. Let me try that. It changes everything, And,
I know people, I don't know if it's jokes, but, I sometimes tell people that their question needs to be a little more clear, or their question needs to, have a little more info to it than just acting like the blog is like a Google search engine that people will do Google searches for them. Yeah. But I really feel like the blog's more like a potluck.
Yeah.
There's a lot of food there. Anyone can come, fill up your plate, get full. But it's a potluck, and we expect everyone to bring something to the blog. Even the newest kind of person can share perspectives that the more experienced people can learn. Either a new person has seen a problem in a different way that none of us have, and can offer a suggestion of how to do something it's better, or even if the new person just helps to remind us what it used to be like for us. That's very helpful. For me to remember, that was a problem for us too, but we solved that, and I don't want to think about it anymore. But it makes me think, that was a problem. That was an interesting way that it could get solved.
Exactly. It brings you back to that other perspective.
Yeah. So, there was a guy, Walt, who has listened to us for a while, but he commented the first time at Scavenger Life, and he was like, can you look at our store and tell me, I feel like I'm not selling enough, He wanted, a critique of his store, basically. Right. And kind of, the reason why I liked it, too, is that he wasn't just do this for me. He kind of, wrote his story and gave you some perspective of why he thinks he's having a problem. Yeah. And I don't know, I looked at his store, and he had 500 items. Yeah. But 75% of his items were under $20. Right. And I'm like, that's a problem. Your items is full of low price stuff. So.
Or your price, it's not low price stuff, it's you're pricing it too low.
Your items are probably worth more, but you're charging so low for things that, he's not doing that bad. Some days he would sell 3 or 4 things, but if everything's under $20,
you're not making a lot,
scraping by, and that's not going to feel very. Because at the end of the day, it's all about that PayPal account. Yeah. If at the end of the week our PayPal account isn't full of good money,
I feel good real money.
I feel what do we do? We don't have any money.
That's what last week felt like. Yeah. I was like, oh my god.
Yeah. 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago. Jesus.
So anyway, that's interesting, and
but I like your comment about everyone's got to bring something to the table. Conversations need to be productive and helpful to other people.
Yeah, because I understand that none of us have time just to sit around and talk to each other for no reason, at all.
We're all busy people.
We all have stores to run, and we got scavenging to do. We have things to list. Some of us are taking care of kids.
Yeah.
Some of us have jobs as well. I mean,
actual jobs.
Like,
yeah.
I'm not on Facebook, and neither are you.
Yeah.
Because we got out pretty quickly because we could just kind of see. It was just a lot of just chatting. And that's kind of what we're trying to avoid. Like, I don't have time to do a lot of chatting.
Yeah. I want to talk about real deal. Yeah. Although people can chat with each other, but I think, actually, I feel like the blog is very productive. I think people are very productive on the blog. Yeah. I think conversations are very efficient. And
that's why we turned off the comments on YouTube, too, and we point people to the blog, because we just found on YouTube, it's kind of like a very chatty place where, well, it just wasn't very productive comments, and I felt like people weren't connecting to each other. Like, people weren't talking to each other. Right.
They were just leaving comments. Awesome video. That's great, but let's talk about, our businesses.
So our coming week, what will it be like? I mean, we don't have a lot to say. It's going to be another full-time eBay week for us.
Yep.
We had about a month there where we did kind of no full-time eBay.
Yeah.
None at all. No.
Now we're super
And now we're like doing full-time eBay, and we're going to be able to do this for several months where we can just focus on just a listing and taking photos and selling.
Let's do it.
And it feels good, And we'll bulk up again, and then when we, go on a long trip, all this work we're going to have done will then pay off down on the end.
Exactly. It's the pipeline.
Yep. It's a pipeline theory.
Yes, the pipeline theory. Okay, now we're going to listen to some voicemail questions and comments.
Yep, and also some people have emailed us as well, so we'll read those. So you can either email us at our website, or you can also call.
And the phone number is 540-407-8486. And it's just a voicemail number we don't pick up, and you have 3 minutes to leave a question or a comment.
Yep.
Hey, my name is Jonathan Jaffe. I live in Portland, Oregon. I am a fellow professional eBay seller. I was watching what I believe to be your most recent video on your website, what sells in our store, where you show all the cool things that you sell. And one of the items was quite large, and you were going to put it in a cardboard box that obviously was not the right cardboard box. You were going to customize it, and it sort of jogged my memory. Essentially, since you guys sell a lot of big and sort of inconsistently sized items, it occurred to me to suggest that perhaps you invest in a picture framing wall cutter. I have one in my workshop for my eBay business, and it makes building custom cardboard boxes very quick and painless, because I don't have to bend down on the floor with a box cutter to cut them. The brand I have is a Fletcher. It's a Fletcher 3000. They're quite expensive new. However, they can often be found for very cheap used, and it cuts up to 60 inches, and it's so incredibly excellent for custom cardboard box making, especially big custom cardboard box making. Anyway, I just thought I'd give you a ring. You guys do an awesome job. I love your show. I love how positive both of your attitude towards this business are. And anyway, have a good day. Bye.
So what I use that sounds a little bit similar, but it's for this exact purpose, is a carton reducer. It's on our resources page, and I use it to customize boxes, or I just use a plain old method of getting a metal ruler out with a box cutter and cutting them down if I need to. I really don't make custom boxes that often, so I have the tools to do it when I need to. But
so the kind of thing he's talking about is what, like a table, like it's.
I think it's a mat cutter, and you would put cardboard in it to customize it, like a flat piece of cardboard. I think so that could work as well, but I do have the tools that I need to do it now.
Yeah, it seems like if we were to be doing custom boxes every single day, but 99% of stuff just goes
is
in
regular boxes. Yeah. I mean, but thanks for the suggestion.
And again, tell me, what's the percentage of stuff that just goes into flat rate or whatever? Just
You mean a priority?
Boxes, yeah.
I would say like 90%.
Really, that much?
80 to 90%. And then the other stuff is first class, which I just use poly mailers for, or regular plain boxes. Right. I hardly ever send stuff parcel post. Every once in a while, I send it parcel.
Because its prices are
comparable? The prices, with the discount, I mean, priority could be the same or less than parcel. So I just send it priority.
Cool.
Yeah.
And that makes people happy.
Yeah, because it gets there faster.
Cool. So we have a question that was emailed to us from Martha. She says, I've been a lifelong scavenger, but now that I've found about eBay, what a great way to be a scavenger, like do my scavenger fix without becoming a hoarder. So she just started and she's happy about it. She had one question. So I'd be interested to know your take on categories. Sometimes I have an item that could be in two categories.
Right.
Did you guys use a second category? If not, how do you choose which category? Would you use the one that most other people are using? You also noticed that a vintage is an option for clothes, but that we don't actually put our clothes in vintage.
So here's my theory on categories. I never pay for a second category.
Because we only get one category. Right?
You only get one category for free, and then you have to pay for the extra one. I don't think it's worth it. I think people are searching with keywords. And then sometimes people will drill down through the category suggestions on the left for eBay. For me, I don't think it's necessary. I think they'll find your item no matter what. As far as not using the vintage category for vintage clothing, I like the item specifics in, like, okay, if I have a vintage shirt, I'm going to put it in regular men's shirts because I like having the item specifics to put the size, the color, the material. And in vintage, you have to enter that stuff yourself. And I want a wider audience. Like, I want guys who aren't necessarily looking for a vintage shirt to be able to find it. So.
I mean, I know I don't list a lot, but the times I do, especially like if I will list like it's military stuff. I mean, the categories get so... detailed
with military stuff. Yeah,
where it's like the era and then kind and the type and this, and it's like so I just like do the best I can, just like.
And the other cool thing is, and I found this to be true a lot lately, if you type in what you're selling or put the title of what you're selling into eBay, they'll suggest the category, and the one at the top, generally, if they definitely know what you're selling, is the one that it should go in, because they're saying, look, everybody's putting it in this category, that's where people are going to look. So I use those suggestions a lot for random items.
Yeah, I think ultimately it's not as important as the keywords, because, people... I know I, as a buyer, I'm typing a keyword in and then getting something back, rather than, I don't know, maybe some buyers specifically are looking in categories just to see what's there.
I understand that people would be looking for specific vintage categories for some things. I get that, but I don't let it, totally take over my day. I'm just like, all right, put it in a category. Let's go. Yeah. Let's do this.
Hey, Jay and Ryan. I don't really have a question. But I was at the post office last week, and the lady there said that from now on, with any USPS package, if it has a fragile sticker on the outside of the box, they're going to start charging $10 extra per package. Just heard of that, or if I could give you a heads up on it. But I know there are postal rates increases coming through eBay, but the lady at the post office told me, from now on, any packages with fragile stickers will be an extra $10 charge. Thank you, guys. Keep it up. Enjoy ya.
Okay, so here's the deal. I don't know who you were talking to that had that information. I don't know if it was a random lady or it was the postmaster. But whoever it is, and you included, have to provide proof of this information.
Well, I mean... I did a quick Google search, and I saw a nothing. I mean, if the Postal Service was about to charge $10 for... What kind of
items? For items that have a fragile sticker on them.
I mean, that would be huge news covered in newspapers and on websites, and there's none of that info. So I don't know if you're talking to a crazy lady in line, or if you're talking to an actual person that works at the post office, and that person lied to you, which is a pretty big deal if... a postal employee is like spreading that kind of info. But yeah, that's totally incorrect.
Now, I did want to correct some. I did want to bring something up that someone brought up on the blog about fragile stickers. Now, people are like, why don't they handle fragile boxes more fragile than other boxes, right? If they ask you if it's fragile or liquid. Okay, so the reason they ask you that is because they want you to pay for insurance. Because if you say, oh yes, it is a fragile item, they're like, great, you need to put insurance on this, or we're not responsible for this. Right. That's why they ask you. Because they don't ask you because they're going to handle it in a blanket.
No. Because, like, if they were to handle it differently because it said fragile on it, then everyone would just put fragile stickers on anything because they think it's going to get better treatment. I mean, they just like... Yeah.
Fragile stickers are for you and your customer to know that you packed it well and wanted it to be handled properly. Right. The post office and FedEx, et cetera, treat
it just like anything else.
Whether it's a poly mailer or a box that says fragile, it gets thrown around the same amount.
But that is a good point, though. If it is fragile, though, you should put insurance on it.
Yeah, no matter what. Period. I don't care if it's a first-class fragile item. You got to put insurance on it.
Hi, Jay and Ryan. My name is Scott, and I'm calling to ask you the question, do you guys like Smart Post? I've just been checking out their rates, and they have just really excellent rates. So I'm just wondering what you think about them. I can't figure out how come FedEx can ship this and then the post office can deliver it for way less than the post office can do it all for themselves. So it's like almost too good to be true. What's your thoughts? Thanks. Bye.
Okay, so Smart Post is a partnership between FedEx and the post office. So you're actually paying FedEx for the label, but the post office does the last mile. I've never actually checked out the rates, so I should do that. I haven't done that. I don't know the difference.
I really think it's weird how like FedEx and the American Post Office have this deal where FedEx takes it to a certain point and then the post office takes it the last mile,
like, why not just send it through the post office?
And so I'm like, why would that be cheaper than just sending it through UPS and have them deal with everything?
You mean FedEx?
FedEx, yeah.
Or just paying the post office outright. Right. What I don't know. Yeah, I would love to know how they split that profit, because the FedEx must pay the post office.
But again, I think though that shows how even a FedEx, which is a private shipping company, sees the value of a USPS, because the American Postal Service has such a great infrastructure. I mean, it
goes to everyone's house.
I mean, it goes to every single house, and they have a presence in every single community. Yeah. And really, I know it costs a lot and blah, 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 but really it's like, for the amount of money they're spending, I mean, like one fighter jet pays for like 10 years of the post office, So,
yeah. So I will check out Smart Post rates. I would love to see the comparison.
Hi, Jay. Hi, Ryan. Just calling to say I love your podcast. You guys you work so hard. You're always innovating. I just love all your ideas. You never stop. It's like I'm not worthy, but I keep trying. I do have a question. I have 3 returns open right now that they decided it was the wrong size or didn't fit. And all 3 of them have yet to send it back. And, PayPal holds your money. And I was wondering what you do if they never send it back, how long you have to wait. So I hope you guys have a good week. Love your podcast. Talk to you later. Bye.
Okay, so I believe that after 30 days, something like that, the return case on eBay will close and your money will come back to you. Because I've had that happen tons of times. People are like, this doesn't fit, I'm returning it. I never get it.
Although, and again, I hate to talk uneducated about this, but I feel like PayPal has a longer period of time where a buyer can
open a case.
Yeah. So, and I know that sucks, but now PayPal and eBay are totally separate. So I guess it makes sense that they have different rules.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I know it sucks they hold your money, but none of us should be dependent on a handful of sales, like to make our budget work. We just, It's being held. It's going to work itself out. I mean, we had a buyer a couple weeks ago who the case finally closed because he said he's going to send a hat back. He never did. And eBay just automatically closed it because that time was done.
Right. There's no tracking. It never came to us.
So we just let that stuff work itself out.
Right,
you know?
right. So, and also you can call eBay and ask them that same question. They'll give you the exact time, too. I'm pretty sure it's like 20 to 30 days.
And you know, it's for us, I guess one thing that you could do is you could harass a person, like send them a messages like, is this coming? Are you sending it? But we don't want to do that.
I don't want them to send it back.
We want them to forget about it. So we're willing to be patient, hoping that they just realize, like, they don't want to go to the post office. They don't want to print a label.
That's not a big deal.
Like, it was a big deal on Monday, but 2 weeks later, they're like, it's $30. Who cares?
Exactly. I've had that happen more times than once.
Yep.
Okay, this next call, this person got cut off, and I don't think they realized it, but I think we're going to try to answer them anyway.
We'll make it up.
Hi, Scavengers. I have an item, and I'm not sure how to list it, and I wanted your advice. It is a Disney licensed Mickey Mouse golf set. So it has golf balls and a golf towel and tees.
And that's it.
Yeah, that's it.
So, I don't know. This is kind of our pat answer, and Disney stuff falls in the same thing. I mean, we don't know what exactly she's asking, but if we had a Disney golf bag, I would type Disney golf bag. Any kind of specifics, if it has a number or any kind of model.
Right.
And then just type that into eBay and see sold search.
Yeah, and what category did they put it in? And there's a whole Disney category for Disney merchandise that you can put it in, too. So just see what they've sold for. If there is not a single one on eBay or that you can see, then price it really high.
Or, I would do it in Google, because sometimes Google brings up searches outside of eBay, some of these other auction sites. Or,
or Amazon. Maybe it was sold on Amazon at some point. So just do the research, Google it, look on eBay. If it's really rare, put $500 on it and best offer. Why not?
But if there's something more specific, just call back and...
Yeah.
Hey, Ryan and Jay. This is Amy from Knoxville, Tennessee. I had a question about using regional rate fee boxes on eBay. I had a package I was about to ship out. I put it in a regional rate fee box. It weighed about 8 pounds. But then when I went to go print through eBay, it wasn't an option. I just wondered if you had a solution to that, or if it's just not worth it to ship regional rate fee. All right. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Okay, so here's the thing. You cannot print postage for regional rate C on eBay. I have no idea why. I don't know if you can even do it through USPS.com. I think you can only do it through the post office. Now, I'd have to fact check that. I haven't looked on USPS in a little while about regional rate C, but I think it might just be through the post office, which is very strange. So I don't really know. I just don't even, offer that rate or anything. I just don't even think about that rate, oddly. So you can do regional rate A and regional rate B through eBay. It's odd, I know. I have no answer for that. I have no idea why. It's odd.
Did you ever find like it's hard to figure out who's in what region and what?
No, because eBay does the calculation for you.
Okay.
Say I have something that fits in a regional rate A. I'm like, okay, let's see if it's cheaper this way or by weight, depending on where it's going. So I say it's 2 pounds, and then I click on my eBay label and I say calculate. Okay, 2 pounds to New York from here is cheaper going by the weight.
So does it tell you that? Does it say that?
Yeah.
Okay.
It gives you a breakdown when you print the label, because Jay's never printed a label, so I'm explaining this for him.
That's not part of my,
So I'm like, 2 pounds, calculate. You click calculate, and then you see priority mail, $5.25. Regional rate A, $5.75. Okay, clearly I'm going to go by weight. I'll throw the thing in a poly mailer, But I've had times where something weighs like 5 pounds. It's a heavy thing. Great. It fits in a regional rate A, and it's, $1.50 cheaper.
Hey guys, my name is Kari, and I just discovered your podcast about a month ago, and I just have to say how much I have been loving your podcast. I wish I had discovered you guys a year ago. Anyway, I have a couple of questions for you. My first question is, I got a buyer this morning who gave me a very lowball offer on something, and then I countered closer to my listing price, and then they countered back with a lowball offer pretty close to the first offer, and they put in something kind of insulting in the comments, and I immediately declined them. But I was wondering if you guys end up blocking bidders like that. One of the things, I could tell that they wanted to buy the item to flip it, and one of the things I learned in my previous business, I ran a wedding and portrait photography business for over 10 years, and one thing I learned is sometimes, like, there are just some customers you want to run, not walk away from, and so I'd prefer to block them. But I know on that Facebook group, Marketing with the Boys, they are very against blocking buyers. So I'm just wondering your thoughts on that. My second question is, you guys inspired me recently to buy a Persian carpet, and it was a very good price, and I just couldn't resist buying it, especially after what you guys have said. So it's kind of in bad condition, and I'm wondering if you guys clean carpets, or if you have carpets cleaned and or repaired, and just in general, what kind of expense you guys are willing to take on to fix some of your items. I have some pocket watches that are really high-end pocket watches, but they definitely need to be repaired. And I bought a set of Irish linens that are brand new, but they have water stains from storage. So I'm just wondering, do you guys ever get things dry cleaned? Do you guys go to watch repair places? What kind of expenses does it make sense to have done on your items? And generally, if you guys ever do that, because I'm kind of getting a large pile of stuff that it seems like it would sell for a lot more if I got it repaired, but it's just, like you guys, I live kind of out in the country, and it would take me a little bit of time to take it to, closer to the city to get everything repaired, and probably like a day of going around and then the expense. So, if you guys could just answer those questions or address those topics, I would love that. Thank you, and thank you guys so much for a great podcast. Keep up the good work. Bye-bye.
Okay, so the first question is, yeah, we absolutely believe in blocking buyers.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not sure why the Thrifting Boys wouldn't do that, but,
yeah.
For us as a small, we are small-time people.
Yeah, small-time
we all
business.
Sell small amounts of items.
Yeah.
We're selling up to 300 items in a month.
Yeah.
A big seller, it would be in the thousands. We don't have time or space in our minds to deal with a single kind of kooky buyer that causes a lot of hassle.
Yeah.
So we know from experience that as soon as someone starts asking too many questions, is disrespectful, sends a message that gets too personal about themselves,
That's happened a lot.
or big blocks of text. Yeah. We just learn there's something going on more than just wanting to buy an item.
Yeah.
They're looking for some kind of long-term interaction that we aren't
Right,
interested in.
right.
And, it's not worth it to our business to engage with that person.
Right.
In the old days, we would, we were so hungry for sales.
Right.
We would put up with anything, and we'd have this $12 item that we would sell, and then have to
deal with all their emails afterwards.
And very often, they'd want to return it, and it's all a big waste of time.
And so here's the thing with lowball offers. This actually happened yesterday. I had a $50 item. Someone offered $15 with big all caps locks. Do not be offended by this offer. What? Decline.
Right.
What are you talking about?
Or just counter at the price as we want. No talk, no anything. And then they can choose to send another offer or not. But, ultimately, we're dictating the terms.
Right.
And it doesn't cost us anything. It
takes 2 seconds. Yeah.
And, it's only up to us if we want to make it into a whole drama thing, and we just don't do that anymore.
Okay, so the question about the carpet or the rug. Yes, we also buy rugs very frequently. And the most cleaning I do is I would run the vacuum over it real quick.
Or if it's kind of small enough you could throw it in a washer too.
If it's thin enough and small enough,
right.
yeah, you can wash it. I've actually washed pretty large, thin wool rugs
But, really though, people who are buying old used rugs are not, in our experience, are not expecting it to be perfect.
Brand new.
I mean, I'm sure they'd be psyched if it was like perfectly cleaned.
Yeah.
But that's not why they're buying them. Right. They're willing to. I mean, we've sold some pretty ratty rugs. Old rugs.
But that's why they like them, because they're ratty, you know.
And then it's their choice whether or not they want to then have them specially cleaned.
Yeah.
That's just an expense that I'm not willing to take on,
It's just, So let the buyer foot that expense.
Hey guys, Jeremy in Seattle. Do you guys use the quick listing tool or the advanced listing tool? I've been using the quick listing tool exclusively, and I've found that it helps me crank out listings really quickly as compared to going through the long form tool. Hope you're having a good week. And I'm wondering not only for your existing store, but also your new experimental store, which tool you're listing. Thanks a lot.
Okay, I always use the advanced listing tool. I always have. I actually didn't even know that the quick listing tool existed until I had a friend that was visiting that was like, I'm going to try to list something on eBay. And the quick listing tool came up and I was like, I have no idea what this is. I've never seen it in my life. So I made him switch to the advanced listing tool. So for me, the advanced listing tool has all the options that I know and understand. Ooh, that's nice. And that's just what I use. I mean, I don't have to change, stuff enough to think that it's a hassle. Change the weight and the dimensions.
So is a quick a listing tool where it doesn't have like all its details, like all that stuff, like brand and...
No, it has that stuff, I think. But I think as far as like shipping options and handling and stuff like that, it doesn't show that stuff. And for me, I need to be able to like change that stuff. Like, oh, do I need a $2 handling charge for insurance on this thing? I need to be able to see that information,
well, In the spirit of learning, maybe we'll just keep,
I could try it on the other.
We'll open it up and see if the combination of no template plus
the quick listing
would that even get us more streamlined?
Yeah, I don't know.
Hi, Jay and Ryan. This is Betty, and I'm a new seller. Pretty new anyway. I did it a few years ago, but now I'm getting back into it since I retired. I'm wondering what you guys are talking about. I've been listening to all your podcasts, and you talk about folders, and I'm just wondering what kind of a system you have to list things. Do you write it on some kind of a sheet and then keep it in a binder, or how do you keep track of the things that you list and where you buy them and what you pay for them? And then I've been doing an Excel sheet, but I don't know if that is, going to be a good thing or not. So if you could just address that, I'd appreciate it. And thanks for all the information I get from your podcast. Have a good day. Bye.
Yeah, so we were actually talking about this early in the podcast. Yeah, I mean, we used to write everything down in a notebook.
Right.
But now we use Google Docs, which is free. If you have like a Google Mail account, it's, that whole Google suite is free. Google Docs, Google like Excel sheets, and all that stuff. And then we just share that amongst ourselves online, and then we can both pull up at it anytime we want.
And as far as folders, I make a folder on my computer that corresponds with the number that Jay's doing on the Google Docs. So Jay will be like, this is, a bunch of listings called, eBay 799. Okay, so I make the corresponding folder number 799. So all the photos that correspond with his list of listings, his document of listings, it's the same name as the folder. So I know, how they correspond. So it's as simple as that. That's it.
I mean, really, it's just, I think it's for us, we didn't really make any of this complicated. We just started doing this and made it however it made sense to us, and then just grow from there.
Yeah, just organize it in a way that I could find stuff later if I needed to.
Yeah. All right, guys. Thanks for joining us this week, and I hope you were able to get through some stuff that maybe you've been putting off.
Piles of procrastination.
That's right. Or death piles, as Mikey would talk about.
Yes.
You can check out our blog at scavengerlife.com, and that's where all the links will be that we talked about. And that's where you can also join the conversation. So if you're hearing this on YouTube, that's where everyone's hanging out. You can leave us a question or comment on something you heard today. You can either email us or you can call us as well.
And the phone number is 540-407-8486.
We post an episode every Sunday night or Monday morning, depending on our timing. We post a video of showing what's sold on Wednesdays. And you can subscribe to us through iTunes or through YouTube if you'd like. We like subscribers.
Yeah.
And we have that vacation farmhouse that we talk about every week. If you're interested to come and stay in our area, if you want to come and meet us, you can come and rent it. We will link to that on the blog, and you can have dinner with us.
Yes.
If you cook.
We would be honored to have dinner with you.
Or you can just rent it and not talk to us. That's totally okay too. We are business people.
Yes, we're very efficient. Okay, this podcast is ending in 3, 2, 1, 0. Bye.